before we talk about all of the statistics and all the other stuff for the things, I want to have our academy training. We're going to talk a little bit about should we ban Jango or how can we better diversify the meta. All right, welcome to our academy training. Like I said, we're going to be talking a little bit about Jango Fett. So if you watched any of the other parts of our shows, we have a whole segment where we talked about the sectional qualifier in Milan and the Atlanta 6K, and Jango seemed to dominate pretty heavily in those tournaments. One of the big things was Jango decided that he was going to do 7 out of 8 at the Milan tournament in Italy. So, guys, what I wanted to do is I wanted to talk a little bit about, people are now calling for Jango to be banned, right? And we saw that ban a little bit here with the Boba Fett back in set 3. At the beginning of set 3, they banned it. It was never an emergency ban. They waited till the end of the season and then went ahead and just banned them before the new cards came out. They did not make any changes with Jango, but doesn't mean that they might do it. So one of the things is as you can see, this is essentially what makes Jango powerful. We're not going to go through this slide again. We already have a segment we did last week where we talked about that, where you can go back and look at how do you combat Jango. Not enough people probably listen to our podcast or got enough reps in because Jango made the top Milan. I guess we're probably not the number 1 podcast in Italy, so there's probably that too. But before we get going, can we talk a little bit about your guys' opinions on banning Jango? Should we ban him? Should we ban some of the cards around him? What do you guys think? We'll start with Justin, our resident guest today.
Absolutely not. I do not think Jango should get banned. I've played against a bunch of Jangos at our PQ. And even the week before, we had our store champion at Excel. But I've only lost 1 match, and that was because Kanan only healed 1 instead of 2. So it's the consistency thing. And also, if your deck is not consistently beating Jango, and Jango's going to be there, why are you running the deck? Why are you going to a sector or a 6K? And playing in that if it can't beat Jango.
But Justin, the practice and the reps for that PQ and stuff, that was set 3. This is set 4, where he got a lot better.
He got better, but majority of it stays the same. If you still can't handle it, with the deck you've built, then why are you running the deck?
So I have a question to a counterpoint, I guess, to that. If your opinion is that we should not be banning Jango, run better decks or play better. Well, that's your answer. So the question I have is, if Jango takes up 50% of this meta, and everybody's just running Jango, and there isn't enough that can counter and beat him, because we didn't see it in Milan, we are seeing it a little bit in the 6K and the 2K in Atlanta. Those had some more diversity in decks. But if decks genuinely are struggling against Jango, do you not feel that we should have something put in place to help do that? Because if the answer is we just have to play Jango mirrors, I don't want to play a Jango mirror. I'm specifically not running Jango anymore because everybody else started running Jango in set 3. So once everybody jumped on the Jango train, I jumped off the Jango train. That's part of me being an oppositionist, right? That's just me. But
fair. If you have to run Jango to beat Jango, you need to take a second look at other decks then. Because I play an off-meta deck, as you guys know. I am the Obi-Wan main here in Michigan. I will forever play Obi-Wan until he rotates out. And I didn't struggle that hard against him. Maybe it's because I played a bunch of Sentinels and was able to lock him down and return stuff to hand or just straight out kill things. But I truly just didn't struggle that much against it.
All right, Alex, what is your thoughts? How about that? We'll start off. We'll kick it off with you too.
I don't think he's worthy of a ban. Honestly, you got a bunch of other really good stuff, and the deck is a lot better, and it plays more mid-rangey stuff. So late game decks struggle a little bit more than they did last time. It's much harder for Palpatine to deal with it. It's not like an auto win or whatever. that being said, like in early metas, with stuff just coming out, everyone tends to lean towards aggro, and Jango is really, really good into aggro, and everyone's been pegging Jango as like the next best deck for set 4. So there's been a lot of effort and time and testing put into this kinds of decks. So it's far more optimized than something like a Kaz deck, right?
Mhm.
Or any of the new leaders, even like Piet or Bulba, right? You can still iterate off those things. I mean, you can still iterate off Jango, but it's far more already been tested, already been doing super well, kind of thing. So I'm not sure if the problem is specifically Jango. I'm not sure if it's because of his leader side, the unlimited exhausting is messes with people, and he has like a big turn, which is fair, but like I don't know. I mean, Justin touched on it, right? It's like if you don't have a deck that like can deal with Jango between your main deck and side deck, then you probably shouldn't like expect to do very well at major tournaments.
Yeah, and so I think that's a fair assessment, right? I mean, we had the same thing with Sabine, right? We had the could you run Palpatine into Sabine? Is it like a thing? Like that was like we spent all set 1 trying to defeat Sabine with Palp, and that was like our thing. And then I switched to Kira because Kira had a really good line into Sabine, and I didn't struggle as hard into Sabine as I did before. Bobas were not super fun to play, but then Boba got banned, right? So then it didn't matter. But, so I think the bigger question is if we look at the statistics are telling me that we are seeing a lot more Jango. And I think if we continue to see Jango, something has to change. Like, I personally would be okay if FFG came out and just said, hey, all right, let's give you a deck that can tech against Jango and still is good into the meta. Like, just here, let me build a deck for you, and here you go, Merry Christmas. Usually you don't have to do that. Somebody will have it, but if we go another sectional or regional, whatever is in Denver next weekend, and we don't actually get the results for it, like we don't see the Jangos going down in defeated wise, we might have to consider making a change. As you know, this set got the War Juggernaut, which is like the big thing when Jango flips. Can you take care of it? By the way, if you're running yellow, which we'll talk about yellow as a whole later, but if you're running Commandeer, he could flip and you got 5 resources. You could just take his stupid War Juggernaut and say, all right, thank you. Like, go ahead and tap it down. I don't care. I at least stopped you from, being able to swing with it one turn. So I don't know. I don't think the answer. I probably am in the same camp where I don't think the answer is we just ban Jango, because I hate just banning a full-on leader. And what that kind of then leads me to say is, how do we have a segment last week we did where how do you build a deck that kind of techs a little bit against Jango? But the bigger question is TDR, right? I think TDR is really the big card that we talk about. Is TDR actually the bigger issue? And should we just have TDR taken out of the meta? Like, will Jango just be as strong without TDR, right? Like, he flips, you can't bring a War Juggernaut out and keep him on the table unless you play Sneak Attack, right? Like, you play Sneak Attack, but then it goes away. So you only get one churn with it. TDR, I think, is an overstated card, in my personal opinion, because TDR is a 3 cost. It gives you a 5 cost discount. You get to play it ready, and then you get to pick it up and put it back in your hand so you can play it the next turn or the turn after. So it's like it's a free card draw. It's a scry. It's a discounted card, and it comes in ready. So
yeah, TDR's crazy. Easily the best, like one of the best villainy cards made. But like you mentioned, like Commandeer, if you're playing yellow, Commandeer should all like either be in the sideboard or be in the main board, right? To go up against Jango.
I don't think TDR is that big of a problem. Like, if it was TDR itself, they would be far more other decks that are also the problem because of TDR. And less so, I think it's very strong. Don't get me wrong, but it's not like it's a solid card. But if you didn't have War Juggernaut, IG-2000, and Devastator in the list, your TDR barely does much, right? Like,
Yep.
it's far more about the ships that you pull with TDR than it is TDR itself, even if it is incredibly strong. I mean, but like, so is Luke Legendary, right? And
Sure.
you probably shouldn't ban that, but man, that thing is great.
You are so right. How many games I've brought back with that card is wild.
But I think that the question though, Alex, right? Like one of my questions is if Django's going to be over 40% of the meta or 30% of the meta or whatever it's going to be, and it's going to be winning the tops. Like my bigger concern, like Milan was a bigger concern than actually the Atlanta. And it's not just because Django didn't win Atlanta. It's because if you look at the percentage of people that ran Django versus the percentage of people that made top cut with it, that's the problem. So when you have 30%, and we'll talk about Milan and later, like in a different segment. But Milan, if you have 36% is running Django, but it makes 90% of top cut, and it consistently does that, that's a problem. That's where the actual problem is. And now you got to figure out how do you stop that problem.
Right. Well, like you were saying, if this continues to be like a 45% trend or whatever, then yeah. Well, this is, 2 major tournaments, one of them being a 500 person tournament, so that's huge. The other one being 130. I think it's more indicative that 145 out of the 550 people brought Django. When a little bit more than a quarter of the field is Django, then you should bring stuff that counters Django.
Yeah. And I don't think that people weren't bringing stuff that counters Django. I mean, like my Boba Fett yellow, like Django doesn't like that deck. Like I will tell you, if they TDR more than me, they win. But like you could control me a little bit at the beginning of the game. I don't care as much. I can just continue to do indirect damage to your base. And like, how often do you have until later game? Do you have a unit that you're going to put indirect damage on? Like it's just right. You don't have that. But we didn't see Boba Yellow come up, and like I still think Sabine is decently suited into Django, because Sabine has some stuff that can be used, like such as the Chewies and different things like that could kind of come in. You have Luke's could come in, then go onto the ground, and so like Luke's just not as doesn't have some of the same things. But all I'm saying is like that's why we wanted to have this conversation, because if you did ban Django, what happens, right? Like to me, banning a leader should be like almost never happen. And we know FFG is never going to errata this thing. Like it's not going to happen. They've basically told us they'll never errata a card. They'll just put it on the do not use list. And so like if you took War Juggernaut out, like which is not really played in almost any other decks, would that fix the Django problem a little bit more? Would you then only have to worry about War Juggernaut? Like to say, okay, it's done. Because I don't think they're going to change his ability. I sadly don't think they're going to do that.
Another thing is if you take out Django from the meta, what takes its place? Because what I'm just saying is it's a bunch of people playing Django because they say, hey, Django's the best deck. These are the cards I need, and then run the deck.
It's also a really cheap deck to run.
It is also incredibly cheap. If you take Django out the meta, what are people going to run? Is it going to be Double Yell Han again, where they steal your resources and blow it up? Is it going to be Boba Red Yellow? Like, what's going to take its place? And that's another major factor.
Well, I think you bring up a good point, Justin. I think that's kind of like the conversation like we have to have. Like, if you ban Django, what is a cascading effect, right? Like, you're right. Han Yellow comes back. If you ban, and I actually don't personally think Han Yellow is as bad positioned as people think it is in the Django. I really don't. I actually genuinely think if you know how to play Han Yellow, you at least are a 50-50 in that matchup at minimum. And if you don't have a slight advantage, and you don't have to steal their resource. Like, that's not what you have to worry about, right? You don't. DJ Tech Combo is just a middle finger, piece. It's not like the core center of that deck. There's lots of other good pieces to that Han Yellow deck besides just that. We also have Quinlan Tarkintown, the hand hate deck. Like, is that just going to come back? Is that going to be like the thing that comes and says, oh, there's no Django to keep me a little bit in check? Or Sabine's going to be back? Like, I don't want to play against a bunch of Djangos, but I also hate playing against Sabine too. So, which is the bigger bad? I put Palpatine in there because it would be super awesome if Palpatine could come back. So
it'll probably be like Cad Tarkintown again, Cad Bane.
Yep.
You can
I
run
will-
basically the same deck.
And then I could play my Palpatine and win again. Like, I'm excited about that.
I will also say, like, I feel like the hand destruction deck that Quinlan does would be significantly good into Jango, especially with some of these new cards like Ahsoka, playing down Ahsoka, forcing them to get rid of card, and if it's a unit, you tap it down. So either you get to tap down their stuff, which we've never seen before, or they discard like some event that could help them push. So it's just, I don't think that's a bad matchup at the Jango personally either.
Yeah, you didn't like my Cad Tarkatown deck, which is a bunch of hand 8A.
We don't talk about that Quinlan Tarkentown deck, dude. I hate
Don't even have
hand
Village.
decks.
Don't need
You
pillage.
didn't even have pillage. You don't need it. No. Dude, the Ahsokas and Kira's got me, and the Sparks, dude.
So I guess that's kind of where we're at. Like, so I think we're all in agreement. We don't feel a ban is necessary. Is that correct? Like, we could.
Yeah, unless the tournament continues to be 7 out of the 8 of them are a specific Jango Tarkatown deck, right?
Yeah, and I will say that there is a little bit of diversity in them, but not a lot. Like the core 35 to 40 cards is the same over and over and over again. And once KTOD releases a change, they're just all going to switch to that anyway, so it won't matter. So, all right, I don't know. Like I said, I think it's worth the discussion, right? Like, I think this is a valid discussion. People are upset. There's a lot of discussion in the community where people are very worried that this is going to just be the thing. But we did have this with Boba a little bit. We had this with Sabine, right? Like, Sabine was all over the place, and then people found ways to counter it. I would also propose if FFG would like to help release like some decks that they feel just are better against Jango, because then once people are running those, I can actually just run something that is a lot more fun, and I can run whatever I want then, because I'll just find the decks that tech against Jango, and that's Tanner's meta. That's the meta I live in, and it's gonna be Palpatine. Yeah, it's gonna be Palpatine every freaking time. It's gonna be Palpatine.
You guys really love Palpatine for some reason, man.
Because he's fun.
It's my favorite deck to play, period. Like, every color, I enjoy every color of that deck. How about that? We could do a whole podcast.
Double green.
Even double green. Oh, that one's the most fun. It's not the most fun to play because you don't get as cool things, but it is the most fun because I could play Endless Legions in that deck and get it off once every 50 games.
Yeah.
Usually I win before then, so I don't have to worry about it. But sometimes I let them go. I try to let them go a little bit farther. Then try to not kill them and hope they don't disconnect on me, and then I can play my Endless Legions.
You'll hit 14 resources against my trench deck. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you'll probably
you can play it.
You'll probably get my
super laser blasted.
Yep. You'll just take care of the whole thing. So yeah.
And then you play the Relentless, and I play a Fine Edition, and then I super laser blast. I was playing it last Tuesday, and the guy had Relentless out for double-digit turns with me still working around that. So, it's fun.
I hate that deck. I hate that deck so much. Oh.
Well, I'll tell you.
On it.
We'll do a deck tech on it. That's fine. I'll do a deck tech on it because I'll do a deck
most
tech.
Unfun deck you'll ever play.
Yeah, I'll do it. It's up my alley. You know, I played hard control Thrawn yellow, right? Like, you know, I did that. Like, I played that for a little while last set, and I also played the Blue Iden for quite a while too. More or less to learn how to play against it, but
it's kind of like that if you have no end game, but an unlimited deployable leader. Yeah, that's your end game.
I think the main reason I hate that deck is because the first time I ever played it, it was the guy's first game. So I just felt terrible playing it the entire time, and I'm just.
Wouldn't you guys like copy each other's decks and play them at the same local together, like just to piss people off?
He wanted to try it out, and he went against a guy whose first game was against that deck. He did the right thing, and he apologized firsthand.
You should just have switched them up. That's what you should have done.
I should have. I should have swapped to Obi-Wan. You're so right.
That's what I would have been like. Sorry, buddy.
But he also needs practice with that deck to try it out. But he's off that deck. It's fine.
Yeah, I'm deconstructing it. I'm gonna burn it. Like it's never getting touched ever again.
All right. Well, now I'm going to build it just because it's going to drive people nuts, I guess. Like now I have to build it. You know what? I'm going to build it and play it against Jango. There you go. Let's see if it does well. If it does well into Jango, maybe I'll bring that to Richmond just to mean things.
The sideboard does pretty well on the Jango, not gonna lie.
Yeah, the sideboard
triple
does
out
well.
maneuver, a couple commandeers.
Mm-hmm.
In addition to all your evacuates and whatever you have in the deck, and super laser blasts and no glories.
You're welcome. You're welcome for the evacuate idea.
I told you, I'm considering putting evacuate in there. I was like, yeah,
we discussed it.
All right.
Anyways,
Remember
yeah,
saying it first.
let's move. Let's not dilly dally tonight and talk about a trench deck that has maybe if it's a good deck. Let's not tell everybody about it. How about that? I don't want to be playing
please, please. I would love for people to play this deck.
No. What if that becomes a new meta because of you, Alex? I quit podcasting. That's what's going to happen.